Nielsen IQ study reveals a rapidly growing group of newly constrained consumers. These are people who've experienced a decline in household income or their financial situation has worsened. The online study also finds that urban consumers are likely to control their spending despite the vaccine deployment. To discuss the findings of this Nielsen IQ survey, we're now joined by Scott McKinsey, the global head of Nielsen IQ Intelligence Unit, who is here with us. Scott, morning, and thanks so much for joining in. You know, FMCG companies in India had just started reporting very strong growth as demand had returned. Just based on your studies, do you think growth going ahead could be lower compared to what we had seen in the prior quarter?
Yeah, look, I think growth, not just in India, but everywhere through the course of this year will be patchy. It'll be harder to find, but it's there. The demonstration that we saw in Q4 in India of that sort of rise or at least return to some levels of growth after what was, by all accounts, a tough year, is a real green shoot that's out there. But chasing those dollars will be significantly harder than it has been in the past. It'll require, the biggest brands in the country to really recalibrate their thinking and focus in on the new need states, how our habits have changed, in other words, during the last year and what people are really going to be looking for. Price will be part of it, but it won't be everything.
But price is going to be an important factor because I'm just reading out some parts of your survey. 88% of the surveyed urban Indians are showing constraint in the ability to spend freely. 90% of the urban consumers want a better variety of value offers. So clearly consumers are getting value conscious. So in that context, do you think it will be difficult for FMCG companies to pass on the raw material cost inflation and go ahead and increase prices from here on? Because if they can't, it's going to dent their margins.
Yeah, I mean, margin is very much on the minds of the world's biggest consumer goods companies, as it always is. But it looks a little bit different this time around. As you say, there's a lift in commodity prices for many of them. But the retailers are pushing back on price increases. We're starting to see that in other markets around the world, markets that are perhaps further ahead in the COVID cycle, if you will. So pressure there, and then that pressure from the consumer. So you've got a real sort of three-legged stool that needs to be balanced here on pricing. There's the price pressures, there's the pressure from the retailers to try to contain costs, because their consumers are telling them that they need to manage their costs differently to how they have before. And India, was lower actually pre-COVID in having large numbers of constrained consumers compared to, for example, some of the bigger Western European markets. So perhaps that's a reflection of how you've got this larger group of newly constrained consumers sort of in the mix now. So, a big focus on that group. In some ways, it makes it a little easier in knowing that that's a new state of mind for the majority of the urban population in India.
Scott, while this is about the urban population, any takeaways with regards to maybe the unorganized labor force? What kind of price pressure they're probably facing there and constraints in terms of income and expenditure?
Yeah, it's interesting because you saw that significant movement of people out of urban areas back home to some of the rural areas. Early in the cycle of COVID in India, you saw with that shift back to sort of more traditional trade spending at the same time. Now, it's interesting because if you look elsewhere in the world at big markets where there was also movement, that sort of reverse migration, if you will, that took place, particularly in the unregulated sort of worker front, you saw a shift that was a little different. You saw e-commerce play a bigger role. That hasn't played as big a role in India as it has elsewhere. And I think that perhaps is another opportunity as some of those who moved back to rural areas start to return to the urban centers as demand for jobs starts to build up and the capacity to spend returns. So watching that movement, urban to rural, that we saw early last year, and now back again, rural to urban, will be another recalibration point for consumers. So you're right to call that out.
Okay. And Scott, I just wanted to end this conversation by asking you what we can expect in terms of the consumption patterns probably in the next couple of months. Because while FY21 could be a dampener of a year, the estimates are that GDP in India could probably bounce back to 12% plus levels in FY22. So what is your sense? Do you think income security will probably creep into FY22?
There'll be some level of security return. I think that's natural coming off the sort of the health crisis that we've lived through, and we're seeing hints of that already. I do think we need to be very careful in looking to GDP figures and unemployment figures as natural sort of light switch moments for a return to consumption. Now, we know consumption, of course, is a large driver of GDP, but it won't be a light switch moment. And I think there's a lot of desire for it to be that very binary process where we move from the dark to the light through the course of this year. It will be much slower than that. It will be progressive. There will be levels of caution in spending, and there will be real scrutiny from consumers, not just on what they spend, but what they spend it on. So demanding efficacy of products, demanding that the product supports them in things like the health claims that may be on the label or the hygiene claims that may be on the label. Those sorts of back to basics are going to be in demand really more than they ever have been.
Okay, all right, Scott, we're going to leave it on that note. Thanks very much for joining in and speaking with us and giving us all of those takeaways from that survey. But moving on now, before we take a break, CNBC TV 18 and the National Stock Exchange have come together to promote investor awareness through a special campaign that empowers you to make the right decisions with your money. Some of the do's and don'ts when it comes to KYC. Filling up your KYC is the first step to the world of investing. Update your contact details in the KYC available with your broker and ensure that you get timely messages of all your trades. Fill all relevant choices and strike off the unwanted ones. For example, an investor who only wants to trade in the equity segment will put a tick against it and strike off F&O or currency derivative segments. Leaving a slot blank could lead to someone else making a choice for you, which you will be forced to honor. Remember, not striking off the blanks in the KYC is like issuing a bearer or a blank check. Rima.
All right, on that note, it's time to slip into a very short break, but just want to update you in the markets. While the frontline indices have been stable with a gain of about 110 points in the Nifty, it's the banks which have picked up. So just take a look at the Nifty Bank. In the last 30 minutes, it's raced away to a near 600-point up move on the Nifty Bank. There is that outperformance, and Axis Bank, HDFC Limited, HDFC Bank, ICICI Bank are all leading with gains over there. We'll get into a break on that note, but up next,